comment, and then Elon Musk, the richest man who has ever walked the earth, made it really interesting. Sitting presumably right there in the same building as Trump, tweeting out, any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. And the reports started flying in that House members took that as a threat, a primary threat, from a man who has $400 billion to burn, doesn't really care about money, doesn't even buy houses, and hangs out with the MAGA king all day long. That will put the fear of God into a politician real quick. And in just the last few hours, the fiscal process being business as usual in Washington has ended. It is a massive shift. Congressman Dan Bishop posting, in 5 years in Congress, I've been awaiting a fundamental change in the dynamic. It has arrived. Florida Congressman Greg Steube joins us now to talk more about this. And, sir, it's good to have you on.
Good to see you.
Tell me about how the reaction came in when Elon posted that today, because you're seeing this process that I know you hate, we as the people hate, but It never changes. That tweet comes out, what happens?
No, it never changes because maybe not the majority, but a good number of Republicans continue to vote for these continuing resolutions that are funding Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer voting levels and all of these different spending things like abortion clinics and transgender centers and all these horrible things that conservatives don't want. So what's great is a guy like Elon and Vivek, after the election, post something like this, and suddenly it changes. You know, it's not just 20 or 25 of the people like me who vote against these horrible bills all the time. Suddenly now the entire Republican caucus cares of what these guys are saying because Trump won his reelection and the country gave us a mandate. And what I don't understand is after November 5th, if you're Speaker Mike Johnson, why don't you pick up the phone and call President Trump and say, hey, we have this date coming up at the end of this, December 17th. Here are our options. What ideas do you have? How do you want us to proceed? What do you think would be good? But instead, he calls Hakeem Jeffries, and he gets all of these horrible Democratic spending priorities so that all the Democrats vote for it because he knows that guys like me are not going to vote for a CR with all this pork in it. So that's where we end up. And thankfully, Elon and Vivek post these things today, and suddenly the rails come off the train, and suddenly we have accountability in Washington. And now our leadership is like, oh, no, I guess we can't go that direction because suddenly they don't have the votes to do it.
Is it dead? This resolution, is it dead? What happens now?
So they were whipping it on the floor. I don't think they have the votes. Leadership hasn't put anything out. The latest that I have heard was we were going to vote today. That didn't happen. Now I'm hearing they may do a clean CR. Which I don't know what the word on that is, but it certainly has derailed what they wanted to do this afternoon. And what's crazy is we are the party that have said in our rules that members are going to have at least 3 days to read these crazy packages, because I was here when Nancy Pelosi would drop 2,800 pages on the floor and less than 24 hours later have a vote and all of us would complain about it. Well, suddenly now Mike Johnson drops 1,580 pages on the floor and within less than 24 hours wants us to vote on this. And thankfully, it has derailed that process considerably because they wanted to try to shove it through, get as many members and all the Democrats to vote for it, and again, put us on a path that is not the direction the country wants us to go.
What was Pelosi's line? We gotta vote it in and then find out what's in it. Yeah. Pass it and then we'll see what's in it with our money. Vile. Here's what was supposed to be in this bill. Just some examples, and you can see there: $15 million for feral swine eradication control pilot program, molasses inspection at ports of entry. I mean, just examples of just so much nonsensical stuff that gets packed into all of these bills. And sometimes we look through these bills and we see how ridiculous they are. But it just goes to show that there's just. How do we get to the point where this is the way it is? And even, I mean, we saw what it took to get Mike Johnson to be the Speaker of the House. And I don't think he's a bad man. And the party went through a lot of hell to get McCarthy out, and he ends up being the Speaker. And yet this doesn't change. Why doesn't this ever change? And is there enough power with $400 billion and Elon Musk promising to primary these guys if they vote for it? Is that enough to change it?
I think so. And now you have President Trump that's going to be in the White House very soon that can guide the conference in the direction that it should be going. What's frustrating is Why didn't the speaker just call the president and kind of talk through what the plan was? He is the leader of our party. He just won re-election. We have a mandate from the American people to do what they want us to do. And you're going to go to Hakeem Jeffries and pass all this horrible pork in a end-of-year spending bill that the Americans don't want.
Yeah.
Or at least talk to your chairman, talk to the conference. And instead, we are told what's going to happen. And 1,500 pages later, we're just supposed to eat it. And that's not what we need to be doing up here.
Right. Real quick before I let you go, Trump doesn't want to kick this can down the road, doesn't want to do this in March when he's a month in. He posted, increasing the debt ceiling is not great, but we'd rather do it on Biden's watch. Let's have this debate now. Republicans must get smart and tough. If Democrats threaten to shut down the government unless we give them everything they want, then call their bluff. It is Schumer and Biden who are holding up aid to our farmers and disaster relief. Trump's not the most fiscally responsible Republican in Washington. I think we can all agree on that. He's just not. But there's a lot of people that want to see this get under control. Trump's indicating he wants to have this debate right now. And I guess he wants to do the full budget now. Is that what you take from that tweet?
Well, he just doesn't want to have to deal with this when he becomes president by kicking the can down the road, and I agree with that 100%. Why didn't we do this 6 months ago? Why didn't we shut down the government a year ago and have a true negotiation about the direction of this country? I have no problem shutting the government down. Let's do a bill that funds the defense of our country, national security of our country, and not a whole bunch of IRS workers who aren't showing up for work. 6% of the federal workforce doesn't show up for work. And then when President Trump's in office, we have a Republican Senate and a Republican House. We can pass a conservative bill that does what America wants us to do.
Well said. Congressman Greg Steube. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Texas Congressman Michael Cloud joined.